everyone, I'm Paul from Bingley Camera Club, one of the committee members. Welcome to all the new members that have recently joined the club. Hopefully you'll find that Bingley Camera Club is useful for your needs, and what you will find is that we're all willing to help and make sure everyone progresses as a photographer, whether that be technically with the camera and the composition of photography, or whether it be the technical side of the post-production. So for this, all intents and purposes, this little video is going to be about exporting to resize your images in Lightroom. Obviously you can do it in Photoshop and various other tools, software, but this video is just purely going to be batch resizing in Lightroom. You find it's, once you get used to it, it's quite a simple process. It saves you time quite well once you get it. So obviously, first of all, in Lightroom, we need to be in the library module, not the develop slideshow or anything like that. So in the library module, I'm in the grid view. You'll see here, this is the grid view, and the options you've got, you could choose a single image to resize. What you've got to remember when you're resizing, what you're looking at doing is taking the file from one folder, copying it and putting it into another folder at the new dimensions that you want. So that's how to think of it. So always think about, for your workflow, is to actually resize them, put them in a new folder, then you don't, if you make a mistake, you're not going to trash the original file. So first of all, what I'm going to do, these were taken yesterday, so you may hear some go on about 5-go photographing or 4-go photographing, stuff like that, which we're doing over the summer. Our little group have had 2 or 3 outings now, where we just go out as a group, and it sort of helps us get off the backsides and go out and take photos effectively, and learn off each other, and help if anyone's having difficulties or something they don't know. So we're all progressing. Anyway, all intents and purposes, what I'll do is I'll show you how to do it with multiple images. So I'm just, instead of selecting them all for this process, if I was, I'd just select Control A and that would select them all, but this, I'm just going to hold the Control button down. I'll just select those 5 for these purposes. These aren't finished edited images yet, I've still got to work on them as how I decide to. But first of all, what you need to do is, once you're in the library module, check, and you'll get these buttons down here, import and export, and we're looking to export. So if you look on this dialog box that comes up here, there's a few things. First of all, you can see here it says export 6 files, so that's the 6 that we've got selected. So there's 5, and there's obviously one further up in the further up in the screen. So that's 6 files that we've got to selected. Left hand side here, I'm just putting the mouse somewhere where it works. Left hand side here, you see all the presets. We'll go through how to create those in a moment. And then on the right hand side here, we've got all the settings to actually export to. So we'll go from the top. So export to a specific folder. For this demo, what I think I'm going to do is export them if I was exporting and wanting them to go on to Facebook. Thing to remember for Facebook, if you upload full-size images, Facebook algorithm, whatever you want to call it, will resize them, trash them for you, and the image you left on the screen is not very good quality, and people think, oh, they're not very good, but it's actually Facebook that's done it for you. So we'll go through the settings as we go through, but anyway, specific folder. So I'm going to go to specific folder, I'm going to choose a folder. So I need to find the folder I want to drop them into, so we're going to go to yesterday's folder, which is Malum. I'm going to create a new folder, so I'm just going to call this one 03 Facebook. This is just my workflow, 1, 2, 3, etc. Just makes it easy for me to find stuff. How you do your workflow is up to you. So selected the folder, so they're going to drop into that folder. I'm not going to put a subfolder. I'm going to tick for this, add to this catalogue. If that's unticked, they don't appear here, but by ticking that, you'll get the new folder come up in your catalogue there. So I'm just going to tick it so you can see what that does. You can rename to a new file, right? But in this case I'm just going to keep them as the same. Reasons for renaming: now you might want to distinguish between Facebook files, etc. But because I put them through into different folders anyway, this doesn't affect me. But yeah, if you want to rename, you just tick it. You can create your own custom file name sequences, etc., or you know, and edit and save your own. So I'm just going to leave this unticked for purposes here. Ignore video because it's not a video. File settings. So for example, if you were working on raw files and you wanted to export them into the same size but effectively JPEGs, you would just check the settings here. So you've got different options there. Go through JPEG. Quality. Now if you're looking to save file space, just bring this down. Anything over about 65 will not have any adverse effect on print quality whatsoever. However, if you start reducing the file size each time, when you come to edit, then you do lose a bit of the information in the picture. But if you're looking for save file size, then just knock that down to a lower figure. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it where it is. If you want to color space, I always work in sRGB, so I'm going to leave that there. But you've got different options here, and you can add your own, if you know, for printers and that sort of stuff. If you're needing to limit a file size, so for example, you're entering some online and it says file size limited to 1 megabyte, this is where you can actually do it. So you tick in there, tick in 1000, whatever it is for 1 megabyte. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's close to that. You would just fill it in there, so I'm going to leave it unticked. Right, next bit is image resizing. So to resize to fit, if you left that unticked, it would just export at the original file size. For this purpose, we want to change it for Facebook. So I'm going to resize to fit along the long edge. This is the bit that is a bit of a pain in the backside sometimes, because obviously you might have landscape and portrait images. The long edge is going to be, in this case, 1200 pixels. The height would be 1200 on a portrait image, and on landscape the width would be 1200. It's a bit of a pain in the backside, but the easiest way to do it is just select all your landscape pictures and then all your portrait, unless anyone knows any different how to get around that issue. But basically what this can do is the long edge 1200 pixels, the resolution that's at 402 at the moment because that's a Pro-Am setting that I'd clicked on beforehand. So I'm going to just change that to 300. Now if these are going up on screen, 1200 pixels here is the important number. It doesn't actually matter what this number is. So 72 or 300, it's still going to be 1200 pixels on the screen. So just bearing that in mind. This becomes more important when you printing. So sharpen here you can choose. I never add any sharpening generally. However, sometimes I will if I'm putting them on Facebook. So just sharpen for screen, standard. Metadata here for Facebook does not matter because they'll strip it anyway. And if you want to add a watermark to your images, just click here, and if you click the drop down menu, you can create your own presets. And I'm going to click that one there, probably two, and if I go to edit watermarks, you'll get this box come up in a second when it's done its thing. There we go. And you see this is where you create your own watermark. So you can have a text one, simple text where you just type in what you want to be on the screen. Choose an image. So if you've got a logo like this one showing here, you can add that. You've got your opacity, your size, where you want it, and where you want it on the screen. You can see here if I click it and it moves it. So I'm just going to cancel that, so I'll just leave that as it was. After export, I always have do nothing, but you have got the options to open in Photoshop and various other things, but I tend to have that as do nothing. So we've selected a folder, we've followed all the settings. Now we think, oh, we're going to use that over and over again. So all we need to do is go over to the left here where it says add, click add. We want a preset name, so I'm going to put Facebook. I've already got some Facebook ones on there, so BCC. Also going back to it, if you're uploading for social media, go online and Google for the image sizes that best fit, and then look for search results that are recent, because they'll take into account any changes. So user preset, so you've got your own folder, that's these folders here. So in my case I'm going to leave it as user preset, and when I click create you'll see it's come up there. So if you want to use it in the future, that's where you can get it. Now next thing I also need to do is click export, and you see top left, you can see it's exporting 6 files here. You can see down here on the left it's adding them as we speak. You click in the on the folder, and you can see here it's added the logo. You can see the dimensions 1200 by 800, so it's resized them as well. So it's quite simple as that. Right, so we're going to go back into library module, go back into grid view. We've still got that's it. I'm going to choose just a few more images just here. How many that way? 6 selected, see it says here. So now you've worked out how to do your presets, you've worked out how to get it to go into your new locations. What if you want to, you've finished working on images, you want to set them off to export for Facebook, you also want to set them off to export for high-res files. So if you're someone that works on all your raw images and then exports your raw images in one go, this is one way you can do it. So in this case I'm not going to select all the images from the folder again, I'm just going to select a few, but the principles are identical. So if you go into export module again, this is where these tick boxes come in to their own. So if I've got these pictures selected, if I was just to click on the actual words itself here on the it will change the settings down here to whatever these are. However, if I decide I want to do a multi-batch export into different sizes in different folders, I would just tick the box. You can see once you've ticked one, you then get this batch export button here appear. And this is something in the recent versions of Lightroom, so if you've got older version of Lightroom you won't have that. So, and in this case I'm going to use the Pro-Am 6x4 setting, just to show you. This will actually show you quite a bit of difference in the way they exported. Pro-Am used before they in Bradford, before they sold out to Sim Imaging, they had quite strict rules of how to resize and upload your images. It needed a different color space, they had to be 402 pixels per inch and at the right number of pixels for the appropriate size. So the best thing for Pro-Am was just to create presets, and then you didn't have to do all the working out each time you come to file preparation. So I've got two presets selected, so I'm just going to click the batch export, and you'll get this new box come up where you actually get to choose the 2 folders you want them to go into. So obviously the Facebook temp ones, I'm going to choose the folder. I'm going to go to the right folder. As you can see, it comes up as a default place, not necessarily it last previously used setting. So need to make sure you go to the right folder. And we are in Malum. Now I'm going to, for the intents purposes of this, I'm just going to click that folder that's already there. There may be the same folders images again that I'm using, and it should give me a warning if I'm going to be overwriting them. So I'm going to select the folder. This one I'm going to choose a folder, so we're going to go to the correct folder again. Here we are. I'm going to create a new folder for this one. I'm going to call this 6x4 print. So as I say, what you put there is totally up to you. So yes, so that's that folder. I didn't need to double click it, that was just me. I'm from Suffolk, sometimes a bit stupid. So I'm going to click select folder. So that's the folder select. Now all I need to do is export. Now on the left hand side here, if they come up, this is determined if the box is ticked for add to catalogue on the preset or it's unticked, will determine whether they appear in here. So what we'll do is we'll export them and see what happens. You can see up the top left hand here, 2 operations in progress, so it's exporting both set to different sizes. As you can see here, nothing's been added, so that means that those boxes for those presets were unticked. So to fix that, all you need to do is right click on the folder, synchronize folder, and it will count the number of pictures to add, which is 12, which sounds right, and you'll see them come up here in a moment. You can see top left here, it's importing the files, and we can see Facebook, there's another 6 files appeared in there, 1200 pixels on the long edge, and on the 6 befores here you can see that these are 2412 pixels wide. And I'll just show you on the folder itself. So we'll go to 6x4 print. Pro-Am need a different color space added, and you will see when you preview in Windows it gives them a washed out look, and it, you know, when you first see that you think what on earth's going on. So sometimes if you specifically put a different color profile on, sometimes you might have the photos look a bit different when you're previewing, but it doesn't have make any difference to the actual print from what you're expecting. So I'll just right click on one of these and look at the properties. You can see here details on the file size. You can see 402, it says DPI, but it's pixels effectively per inch, and it's 2412. Now 402 times 6 is 2412, so that's where the 6 inches comes from. Okay, so that's that. I'll just close that for now, and that's really it for exporting images within Lightroom. So a quick recap. So from the start, in library module, into grid view. However, if you're not in grid view, it doesn't matter, you just need to use the timeline at the bottom here for you to select your images, or Control 8 if you want all of your images. So select your images that you want. In this case I've only got one selected, so you go to the export, use a preset if by clicking on the words themselves if you want to use a preset. If you want to multi export to different sizes, tick the boxes. If you're using it as a one-off or first time, you need to just go down each individual item here. So you've got your folder you want to go to, what it wants to be named inside that folder, so you can do it at this point if you wish, or you can do it in, it's easy enough to do in Lightroom as well. Your file settings, size, output format, etc. Your image size, whether you want to resize it, and as you see here you've got different options. To be honest, most of the time I'm using long edge as my resize, or unticking it if I'm just leaving it as the original file size. So output sharpening if you want to do any of that, watermarking if you want to watermark it, and obviously keeping in your metadata if you wish to keep your metadata in. Once that's all done, it's a case of export. So hopefully that's some help. Just have a little practice. So create your presets if you're exporting regularly to the same size, and hopefully someone found that a little bit useful. Obviously go on YouTube, there's plenty more tutorials on there, that some of them are much better teachers than I am. Hopefully that was of some use, and as I say, the good thing about Bingley Camera Club is we do like to try and have a helping attitude to get everyone better. We do have a lot of competitions, but there isn't really anyone that just keeps information to themselves just so that they win a competition. We want the standards. to be high. Most people would rather lose in a competition but be beaten by high quality work, and that goes for everybody, I think, within the camera club. So enjoy your time with the club. Any questions, feel free to use the WhatsApp or Facebook pages to ask your questions. Someone will always be there to help where we can, and failing that, there's always Google, who knows everything, just like the ex-wife. Yeah, so enjoy. Thanks for your time, and I'll speak to you again soon.